It's 1985. You're now officially a teenager. What's your album of the year? And no fibbing. Darren here. That's the premise of this series of videos, my lifetime of listening, an attempt to plot out all my musical milestones as I hit my 52nd year on planet Earth. There is a playlist. Check that out for previous years. But for this video, it's 1985. I'm 13, and here's a selection of both contemporary and retrospective choices that didn't quite make the cut this time around. First up, a Too Cool for School selection that I picked up much, much later and love unconditionally. Yeah, this is Rain Dogs by Tom Waits. The middle of Tom's primitive trilogy that utterly reshaped his approach to music and provided inspiration to countless musicians down the years. Tom York, for one, is a mega fan. Blues, street corner jazz, tin can percussion, grotesque storytelling, heartbreak, squeeze box, puppet show nightmares, junkyard laments. It is a wonderful, wonderful record. I challenge anyone to hold it together for the track Time. It's just masterful musical poetry. Also, REM's Fables of the Reconstruction. I wasn't aware of them yet. That would change soon. But nonetheless, I'll put it out there right now. This is my favourite REM album. Ghostly southern storytelling, painterly compositions, lyrical murk, archetypal REM. Now some choices that were contemporary to me at the time. Firstly, Scritti Politis, Cupid and Psyche 85. If you watched my 1984 video, you'll know there was some confusion about which was my first ever album purchase. This was that other one. That might have been it. Polished studio deconstructions of mid-80s pop, R&B and funk styles with a keen philosophical themed lyrical bent, hiding in plain sight, all dressed up in Green Galtside's sugar-coated falsetto. Absolute would-be's, the word girl. Slick, yes, but pop bangers one and all. Also on the cleaner end of the spectrum, Prefab Sprouts, Steve McQueen. Very grown up, very smooth, but my goodness, writing and arranging to die for. Bonnie, When Love Breaks Down, Goodbye Lucille, that's Johnny Johnny, and the incredible Desire As. There are days when I'll pick this over any Smiths record of the same period. I'm not looking to start a fight or anything, I'm just saying. Listen again, maybe you'll hear it too. But this year's choice, and one that sent me down a back catalogue rabbit hole that changed me for good. This is Little Creatures by Talking Heads. Yes, this is how music discovery worked pre-internet. You heard a single, a school friend or relative recommended something. You'd save your pennies, pull some birthday money, troop off to Woolies or Menzies or WH Smith and lay your precious cash on the line. If that one worked out, lather, rinse, repeat. More saving, more trips to the shops, one cassette at a time, back through the years, accumulating all the preceding stuff. It felt like a kind of painstaking process of archaeological discovery. Sometimes it worked out, sometimes it really worked out, and that was the case with Talking Heads. Others, not so much. Take the following year. Huey Lewis and the News is 4. As they'd say many years later on Dragon's Den, I'm out. Little Creatures was Talking Heads, post-Eno, post-Stop Making Sense, post-Tom Tom Club. A full-on return to structured one-take songwriting and none of the layered experimentation and studio-bound assembly that had come to define the band over the preceding 4 or 5 years. A pop record, pure and simple, arguably the band's first true pop record, and at the same time, this time fueled by Byrne's domination of songwriting credits. 6 of the 9 tracks are solo Byrne compositions, a further deterioration of the band dynamic. They were never a happy outfit, as the biographies and the stories go, and things just kept getting worse. The perception of Talking Heads as David Byrne plus the other 3 was now cemented. The media began to pick up and run with it, and when David nixed any touring plans in favour of making his movie, True Stories, in the process preventing the band from performing at that summer's Live Aid concert in Philadelphia, the writing was very, very much on the wall for Talking Heads. But Little Creatures as an album bears very little of the bad vibes, the power struggle behind the scenes. The lyrics show David Byrne in joyful mode. Still a little off to one side, always the observer, but singing about love, about families, babies, grown-up middle American life and where it was all headed. The big tracks here are the hit singles, And She Was broke the UK top 20 and their highest ever singles chart placing, peaking at number 6 in late November of 1985. That's Road to Nowhere. These two tracks effectively bookend Little Creatures, taking the listener on a loose journey from the carefree, floating easiness of And She Was, the protagonist alone, completely at ease with the world around her, to the closing Road to Nowhere, where the travails of growing up, of life, love, parenthood, birth, marriage, death, have all added up to not very much at all. We're still none the wiser about why we're here and where we're headed. But it's all right, baby, it's all right. Along the way, there's the discovery of sex and parenthood in Creatures of Love and Stay Up Late. There are also the distractions of modern life, the sympathy, luxury, the rewards of the daily grind of working the treadmill in Walk It Down. And the worlds of fantasy and reality colliding and beamed into our living rooms 24/7 in Television Man. I'm not saying Little Creatures is a concept album, but it's definitely a very concise window into Burns' new obsession. Everyday life, the banality and beauty of living in a late 20th century capitalist society. He'd returned to this at some length in True Stories and in a more episodic fashion on 1988's final Talking Heads album, Naked, tracks like Mr. Jones, The Facts of Life, Nothing But Flowers. By this point, essentially a Burns solo album with the others reduced to bit players. But for me, it was the glorious kind of Marshall Zydeco apocalypse of Road to Nowhere that took me to Little Creatures. And loving that, I dug 77, Remain in Light, Fear of Music, all of the others. I talked a while back in another video about Goldilocks Records, not the artist's best, but a satisfying introduction to the band, giving a great taste of what they were about, pulling you into their worldview. In 1985, for me, that was Little Creatures. And whilst not the band's best, it was my introduction to Talking Heads, and a lot of the music that shaped my musical evolution through my early teenage years. If you recall from my Stop Making Sense video, I saw that on TV over the Christmas of 1988, so I'd spent the intervening 3 years digging back through their pre-Little Creatures back catalogue. Probably alongside U2, the first band that I could have said, hand on heart at the time, I am a fan of this band. Which is why I've chosen not to overdo this album in terms of individual tracks or any kind of in-depth analysis. This one was the spark, the driver, that kicked me off into a whole new wave of musical discovery. So a question, what might yours be? From 1985 or otherwise? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And we are out. If you've got this far, thanks very much for sticking with this video, this series, the channel. Give it a thumbs up if you can. And why not subscribe if you haven't already done so? Both of those things will really help get the channel growing. Okay, that's it for this video. Do take care, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.